Ha-Seong Kim has officially reached a deal with the Tampa Bay Rays. Joe and I are going to talk about that contract because he was a guy that we both thought the Mariners should go after this offseason. Now that he's off the board, would we have made that signing? We're then going to talk about an article that came out about the park factors for T-Mobile Park and why it is the hardest place to hit. And we're going to have a little bit of fun because the Mariners haven't done anything this offseason, so we're running out of stuff to talk about. There has been a classic lunch table meme made by Zach Left, and we want to talk about it and which table we would sit at with Mariners Twitter users. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 161 of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Bleav Network. The Mason Turner, Dustin Halama, and Ryan Payton episode of the podcast. Ryan Payton is our new top donator to our fundraiser down below with a $300 donation to help Joe and I bring you guys the best content we can while we are down in Arizona for spring training. So Ryan, appreciate the hell out of you there. We're now up over $600 thanks to you, thanks to Dustin, and everyone else as well. So we appreciate that. And I am here with Joe. Joe, how we doing?
Dude, let me tell you, when I woke up to that email, I was like, this has to be someone that Colton knows. So Ryan, if you're out there, let us know, man. Let us know who you are because, please. And if it's someone that, it's a user that we constantly interact with and it's a different username, whatever, please let us know. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts because without your generosity, our goal, our mission, what we're trying to accomplish down in spring training, mainly Colton, since I'll only be there for a week, as opposed to he'll be down there for the entire month. But without that, it would not be possible. So thank you very much for that. Could that $300 have gone to Ha-Seong Kim? Maybe it could have.
Segues are weird.
It's a possibility that I'm not entirely ruling out. And there's been a lot of conversations around the offseason about, fan funding, a bunch of the creators getting together, pooling together their own money, eventually buying the team. I know Marine Layer's been pounding the table for that. Maybe the GoFundMe's the avenue to sign free agents for Seattle because John Stanton doesn't want to open up the pocketbooks. But Ha-Seong Kim signed a 2-year, $29 million deal with the Tampa Bay Rays with an opt-out after the first year. We all know the story about Ha-Seong Kim is the fact that he's not going to play until middle May, June, the first couple, month and a half, 2 months of the season, he will not be on the baseball field. He will be rehabbing some shoulder surgery. And also, his 2024 may be affected by some of that injury concern. Wasn't nearly as good as his 2023. And I think a lot of teams that were maybe surveying and expressing interest in Ha-Seong Kim, they definitely want him to return more so to that 2023 season where he kind of really put it all together for the San Diego Padres. But I think the Rays, although it's not necessarily the most conventional place to sign, as the Rays are just kind of a weird team in the offseason of whether or not they're signing players, if they're going to be trading people, whatever. The Rays, I think, do make a bit of sense because Taylor Walls is their listed starting shortstop on roster resource, and he's not good. Just admittedly, he's just not a good baseball player, in my opinion. A 529 OPS last year. It was worth negative 0.2 wins on Fangraphs. So they're getting a starting shortstop back, at some point in June, and that's good for the Rays. Now, would we have done that signing? I think it's a little, and listen, what I'm about to say is going to anger people, and I understand. I think that's too expensive for Ha-Seong Kim. I don't know if I would have wanted to give him $14.5 million or however it breaks down. If it's 10 and then 19, that would be crazy. That'd be a big difference. But you know what I'm saying? The annual average 14.5 over those 2 years. I just wouldn't want to do it. I just think it's too rich for what you'd get out of him this year and the production difference. I think it makes sense if you're signing him to be your shortstop. If he's signing to be your second baseman or third baseman, I don't think it's necessarily as worth it because obviously shortstop's a more premier position than second base and third base. I think you were higher on Ha-Seong Kim than I have been this offseason. So what do you make of the signing and would you have signed that contract?
Yeah, I think it's interesting that he did decide to go to the Rays. I'm assuming it is because he did want to play shortstop. I'm assuming that was kind of a big factor there. The Rays are an interesting team to, I guess, make that signing because where do the Rays really see themselves in 2025? I don't know. They definitely see themselves contending. They're the Rays. They always do. But I think that from my point of view, would I have signed that contract? No. it's just too, like you said, it's too much. A few $1 million. Now we're gonna talk about a few $1 million here, so whatever. But like $14 million for a guy who, like you said, isn't gonna be on the field for the first month and a half, and if he has a good season, is gonna opt out. Like, I don't know. I just wouldn't have done it if I was the Mariners, especially when there are other options out there. With that being said, they got to do something, and if they would have done it, I don't think I would have been mad.
Yeah.
But that $14 million was, I hate to say it, out of their price range. It is over their budget that they have imposed on themselves. And so, no, I don't think it would have made sense for the Mariners to do it. I think he'd be a good third baseman for the team. But if he did want to go play shortstop, there's no fit here. And so I think that what's interesting to me is you could go the contract that Nico Hoerner's is making. What is it? 12 million, 11 million, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He, in my opinion, is a better player than Ha-Seong Kim, and he'd be over at second base. I feel like they have very similar skill sets, both great defensively. Hoerner definitely puts more balls in play, but Kim has more power. I think that I would much rather make the trade for Nico Hoerner than I would for signing Ha-Seong Kim. I'd rather pay that money to Hoerner than I would to Kim at second base. And so I don't think that the contract is completely out of the realm of possibility for something the Mariners should have done. Yeah, I just don't see why they would have gone out there and signed Ha-Seong Kim for that. With that being said, like I mentioned, there's not a whole lot of options left, especially on the free agent market for the Mariners to go out there and sign. And so because of that, we keep being told there's this trade coming sometime like this week, and it's all probably contingent on
Alex
Bregman and him just making his mind up. And so I don't know, the whole thing's just annoying, and I'm kind of over that part. Like, just sign somewhere. Shut up. I hate you as it is, and the fact that he's being a diva and drawing it out.
I'm gonna stop you now before you go on your tangent because I can feel it coming. You mentioned a trade potentially, you know, that's just like the big move before spring training. I don't want this Ha-Seong Kim signing to affect or influence people's thoughts about where the Rays stand with Yandy Diaz and Brandon Lau, because I don't think that them signing him means that those guys are available. And I think it mainly means that they're not available even more so until the trade deadline. The deadline seems like the most likely chance, and I think that's accurate for a lot of players on the Rays, and that's a consistent aspect of how they tend to operate their major league club. But Diaz and Lau, I don't think they're going anywhere, specifically because if they wanted to move them, they would have signed someone probably cheaper and available for opening day, as opposed to see what they get out of Kim. Maybe they even trade him at the deadline if he's like comes out off of his surgery, makes his debut in June and just is hitting hot for a month and a half. Yeah, trade him. He's going to opt out. You're not going to want to pay him. So trade him now, retool a little bit and see where you're at. But I think if people look at this signing as, oh, the Rays are comfortable moving players, it's none of the players that the Mariners should be necessarily interested in. I think the only one that maybe I would be like, okay, would be Jose Caballero coming back. And even then it's like, I don't know. Like, would you play him over Ryan Bliss? It's like, maybe not. I think Bliss has a lot more upside, but Caballero obviously has shown what he can do defensively and on the base paths, but his bat just isn't as valuable as I think, like what his walk rate, like just what he's capable of. Like he showed it with the Mariners in 2023 that he can be a nuisance and he can draw walks and get on base, like whatever. But when he saw a lot more time with Tampa Bay last year, he got kind of overexposed. Of course, coming back to Seattle, he'd probably get, 300-ish at-bats, maybe, versus where in Tampa Bay last year, I think he saw over 400. So looking at the trade market, and if the Rays are a better fit now with Ha-Seong Kim, I don't necessarily think so.
Yeah, and I think that, like you said, there's really nobody that makes sense for the Mariners to go out there and get. Like Taylor Walls, no. Caballero, no. The only players that we would want to get are the ones that we have been told are no longer available. And I think the interesting thing is, like, how would these guys have hit in T-Mobile Park anyway? That's one of the biggest things is, do we even want to go out and get these guys? Because would they be able to hit in T-Mobile Park? Which is apparently, which I think we all kind of knew this, but it is the worst place in Major League Baseball to hit. From Mike Petriello, I hope I said that right. He talked about why T-Mobile Park is one of the worst places to hit. In 2024, this was the Mariners' line for pitchers. Oh, Andres Munoz. His stats at home: versus away. You ready for this?
Yep.
At home, he had a .28 ERA, 43% strikeout percentage, a .08 batting average against, with a 155 OBP and a 120 slugging. On the road,
Nails.
a 4.28 ERA with a 25% K rate, 225, 352, 392. Slash line there. One of the graphs here, it shows it says T-Mobile Park is the anti-Coors Field. We all know that it's a lot easier to hit in Coors Field due to where they're at, just in terms of their
Elevation.
Thank you, that's the word.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows, it's like a line graph, or not a line graph, plot, whatever. I'm not a math magician.
Right.
But inflate strikeouts and suppresses run scoring. Everyone is kind of like in the middle for the most part. Colorado's way over here in the inflates run scoring. Joe, put the graphic on screen.
Yeah,
so
I don't know
what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I will.
Anyway, as you can see by this graphic that Joe just put on screen, more work for Joe in the editing process. The Mariners are like sorry, audio listeners. Maybe this is a good one to go check out the YouTube stream or the YouTube video on. And you know what? Make sure you subscribe, because we're trying to catch up to Locked On Mariners. We just can't let Colby, keep parading that they have more subscribers than us anymore. 47% of you guys that watch our videos are not subscribed. All right, let's fix that. Subscribe. Great segue, Joe. But everyone's kind of in the middle, and then the two real outliers, Colorado on the inflates run scoring side, and then there's Seattle on the inflates strikeouts and suppresses run scoring side. And they are so far away from literally everyone else. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that TJ made a really good point, Joe, with TJ from the Marine Layout podcast, said, with all the T-Mobile Park discourse coming out this week, the 2001 season becomes more and more fascinating. Despite leading the league in runs, Safeco still ranked 30th in park factor, 30th in run factor, 29th in hit factor, 23rd in doubles factor, and 28th in home run factor. Meaning that it was in the bottom, 1%. But it's the worst place to hit. That's just the way it is. Even in the 2001 season, where the team won more games than any other team in history, it was still the worst place to hit. TJ goes on to say the Mariners led the league in on-base percentage at .360, despite the park being last in on-base percentage factor as well. Even the greatest team in franchise history cannot fix the park. Joe, what do you make of this, and how do you view what is TJ saying here and what Mike Petriello is saying here as maybe a reason why people don't want to come here when it comes to bats?
There's also some testimonials, some quotes in the full article from legendary hitters of the game. Alex Rodriguez, Edgar Martinez, basically just saying that Safeco, T-Mobile, it's the worst place to hit. Alex Rodriguez, I think in the article it states his home OPS in whatever season it was, the singular season he played at that stadium was like in the 800s or something, which is still a pretty solid OPS. But when you consider his road OPS was over 1,000, it's showing how much it can suppress the most talented hitters in all of baseball. Now, you look at, say, Mike Trout, who, owns the Mariners. I don't necessarily have his splits or his numbers up in Seattle specifically right now, and I'm sure I could go find it pretty quickly, and I know I can. I might go back to that. Trout, he's, a known Mariners killer. So it's, where's, the discrepancy? And I don't know if there's a very, minute thing that you can really, point out to, who is successful, who isn't, why that is. Just, some guys see the ball better than others in certain specific situations. And Edgar, in that same article, talked about how the batter side should not be at an angle like that, and it's something that he still would say today, as obviously someone who's in or around the ballpark very consistently and is now the director of hitting strategy for the Seattle Mariners. How is he going to combat that? How do hitters combat that? I don't know. Hit the ball, see the ball. What do you do? The only thing that can happen legitimately, I think, is fundamental changes, foundational changes to the batter side. Why do hitters not want to come here? There's so much data pointing to the fact that it is the hardest park to hit in all of baseball. Of course, hitters don't want to come there. So how do you make the team function? And they've done it by creating a very excellent pitching staff, a bullpen that was hurt last year that If it was healthier, would they have been a better team? Of course. You've seen what they can do with a healthy bullpen in 2022, less so in 2023, but looked at 2022 and how much success they had. Like, yeah, they were really good. The bullpen starting rotation wasn't as good as it is now, but like, you need to thrive on pitching. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And that's what the pitching does. Is their home road splits, yes, they're not great, but when they're at home, they're unhittable. Like, it's truly like a huge advantage for the Mariners that they get to pitch 81 games in T-Mobile. The hard part is you also have to hit 81 of those games. And how do they manufacture runs? How do you adjust to that? And I think, and we won't know until it's like actually happening, but acquiring players that have high batting average, high bat to ball ratios. They don't whiff a lot. They don't chase a lot. I know Mitch Garver was like the king of chase percentage per his baseball savant previously to coming to Seattle. And it's like, it's not always going to translate. But like, you look at a guy like Donovan Solano, who's posted a batting average of 280 and above every single season since 2019 or whatever it was. Yeah, that's a guy that, if it's not impossible to hit somewhere, he'll do it, and he'll do it fine, right? This is such a nuanced baseball conversation that I don't think there is a sound answer. It's like, how do you pitch in Cincinnati? Well, you try and strike people out. Okay, just limit hard contact. How do you hit in Seattle? Make hard contact. Or like, how do you hit in Seattle? Make hard contact. Like, I don't know. There's just like weird thing that you could point. Sure, you could say like certain stats are like things that you should key in on, like swing percentage and like hard hit percentage and like top exit velocity, blah, 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 blah. Like, there's plenty of like newer metrics that you could really focus in on and say, like, these are the things that you need to do to be a successful hitter in T-Mobile Park. Do the Mariners have the players that can do that? I don't think that's necessarily like out of the realm of possibility, but I also don't think that they've shown us like the capacity, like, yeah, we've got every single player that can do it. Not everyone's going to be Mike Trout in T-Mobile Park, who slashes 333, 435 with a 708 OPS and slugging and a 1.143 OPS in his 92 career games in Safeco Field / T-Mobile Park. You're not going to get that out of every single baseball player that you bring in, but also not every single opposing team is going to have players that hit like that. So I think it's a double-edged sword. And I think that's the best way that people can look at it if you want to try and frame it positively-ish, because it is a pretty big detractor. And it causes, I think, a lot of problems in the transactional periods like free agency. What can they do? I don't know. Start over? Rebuild? If you build it, they will come kind of a vibe. Like, I don't know. It's like change the batter's eye. Great. Hopefully that fixes it.
Yeah, I think that we look at what this article really does for me is it says we see guys. I think Brendan Rodgers is a great example. A guy from Colorado who, nobody wants him, right? Because he was so enhanced. His numbers were so enhanced by playing in Coors Field that and maybe those years where he was all right, who knows, right? But then you have guys like Nolan Arenado who left Coors Field and continued to rake. Good hitters are going to hit no matter what. And I think that when it comes to what the Mariners, how they build their team, if this is a known problem, if this is a quantifiable problem, which clearly it is based on all of these numbers and all these graphs, I don't care why it's a problem. I don't care why numbers are so suppressed here. What I care about is how you take advantage of it. Mm-hmm. The Mariners have built the best pitching staff, at least in the American League. And I think are one of the best. I think that it would really benefit them to go out there and start making some big moves in the bullpen. I know they like to try to piece it together for cheap in the bullpen, and you have to put a product on the field defensively and in the batter's box that is going to help. But if the Mariners make a death bullpen with their death rotation, and you're playing 81 games at home, mm-hmm. you are going to put yourself in a the numbers back up the fact that you should be putting the best pitchers possible, because you put good pitchers in T-Mobile Park, they're gonna do better.
Yeah.
It's just the numbers are right there. And again, it's not going to be every single case. I'm sure there will be people that maybe they don't like the mound or what have you, but it's something where The Mariners should be focused on getting bats, yes, because obviously, those 81 games on the road, you got to be able to hit.
Mhm.
And but at the same time, the fact they've put so little effort into their bullpen this offseason, which is weird to say because that's the area they've signed players the most.
Yeah, it's just like
But they
those
have not.
impact where it's like
Hmm.
they're not like the big names that you're really normally associating with like transactions. It's like, yeah,
Right.
it's good lab
And
guys, but
maybe that is a part of the process of, okay, well, we know that we can get mediocre guys and turn them into really good pitchers here because it's T-Mobile Park, so we don't need to spend a bunch of money.
Mhm.
That's probably the thinking, because we need to spend more money on hitters to be able to get good hitters here, because good hitters are going to hit no matter what, in my opinion. Like, again, Nelson Cruz had zero problem hitting in T-Mobile Park. Robinson Cano, no problem.
Mhm.
Kyle Seager, no problem. Good hitters hit no matter where they go. Unfortunately for the Mariners, they don't invest in good hitters that often. They invest in hitters, guys who you just have to assume when someone comes here, knock like 20% off of their entire slash line. Just expect it, and
Ugh.
then maybe you'll feel a little bit better. I don't know. You
Lower
won't.
lower your expectations.
Uh
If you want good hitters in T-Mobile Park, lower your expectations.
huh. Wow, that's quote of the year. Oh
Quote of the
no.
year.
But
I'm
I think that it says something about when people are like, oh, hitters leave here and they always become good. This is why. Because of the park factor.
Mhm.
Because of the fact that this is the hardest place in baseball to hit. This is why.
Not to say that they have done what you wanted as far as like taking advantage of what T-Mobile offers as far as like how to win good ball games there, but the Mariners had the fourth most wins at home. They had the
Mhm.
fourth best record at home in all of baseball last year. They went 49-32 at home. The only teams ahead of them, the Guardians, were 50-30. Phillies were 54-27, and then the Dodgers were 52-29. Okay? Like they've done it. They like how you said as well, like they still need to be able to win on the road, and like how do they kind of navigate that? I mean, if that number's 51-30 at home, Mariners are in the postseason. Like it's those like small little margins that make the biggest difference. And I don't want to say that, like, again, I'm not trying to praise their building of the roster in 2024 and like how things went with saying that they won the fourth most games at home in 2024, but like it's a recipe, it's a formula that has worked for them decently. How do you elevate that even more? Win 55 games at home next year for all I care. Make T-Mobile just a raucous place for teams to come and try and play. And then maybe the road splits won't matter as much.
I think it's interesting because when Jerry Dipoto and co first took over, one of the things that he mentioned back in like 2018 was that they wanted to make the team more athletic, more a little bit more defense first. And I think that's a very sound like way of going about things for playing in T-Mobile Park, which is what he was talking about because of the ballpark they play in. As the narrative has shifted a little bit, I think that the leaning towards defense and pitching even more is something the Mariners could very well do in 2025 based on where the team is right now. Okay, like you're not able to get the big hitters here, and clearly the trades we want aren't happening.
Mm-hmm.
Go out there and sign some defensive whizzes. Get Brendan Ryan on the phone, have him come in, play shortstop, move JP to second. All right, and just stop any runs being scored against you in that ballpark. Like I don't really see another way. You need to lean really heavy into something. And right now the Mariners are dabbling in a bunch of different like little buckets, and I think that they need to lean. If you're gonna do it, do it. But like obviously you need to make a complete team. Yes. But if you don't have a team that is really like the top of the line at one thing, which the Mariners are close, make a good bullpen, and you might have the best all around pitching staff in baseball. Make a good bullpen, and I think the Mariners would do that. Get good defensively. If you can't hit, great. Suppress runs then. And then you're gonna lose a lot of 1-0 ball games. Yeah, you are. So is everyone else. And so I think that I don't know. It's very tough to say, Joe, what the Mariners are going to do the rest of this offseason, but they haven't done anything to this point. So instead, we're going to switch gears a little bit. If you guys did not see this lunch table cafeteria meme from Zach Left, Joe's going to put it on the screen. And basically the way this works is which table would you choose to sit at, right? And you may not be able to recognize everybody here, but there are certain people that obviously stand out. We know Colby, we know Ty, obviously Adam Jude's on there, Ryan Divish, and then a few Mariners, like Jen Mueller's on there, Angie Mintink, and stuff like that. So
Alex Mayer
is on there. We have discussed, Joe and I discussed this a little bit beforehand because we weren't planning on putting this in the podcast, but
here we are.
We didn't know what else to talk about. So Joe, I want to hear your thought process really quick because I've already heard it. The people want to hear your thought process really quick on going through these tables where you'd want to sit.
Well, it's hard because I don't recognize some of the profile pictures, admittedly. Like table 1, we got Mariner's buddy. Who was the top right there? That's Shannon Dreher. And then Mariner Muse. Did we get all of Mariner Muse? Are there multiple people still contributing to that account, or is it just one?
I'm assuming it's just Patrick.
We're just doing Patrick, okay. And then I don't know the bottom right George Kirby one. I apologize. Right, like, and to be fair here, Colton, we're in the kitchen, probably cooking, because we're fat. Like we're not at one of the tables.
We already ate it all. Yeah. We actually went to McDonald's. That's why we're not at the tables.
Exactly. Yeah. We.
The heck, Zach.
No, he posted like underneath said, "Don't feel bad if you weren't included. There's only so many spots and some coins left. It's okay." I just thought it was a funny.
There's an empty table right there on the left. It could have just been you and me.
There you go. That's our table. Let's claim our spot at that table. Table 2, Ben, Jage, and Jake. I don't know who the moose is necessarily. It's not a bad table to sit at. Like I don't know. There's a lot of good choices. Shout out my goat. Mariner Steve getting to sit with Jordan Schusterman. W Mariner Steve right there. But I think just because I'm not the most outgoing person, I'd want to sit with people that I've already kind of made some sort of conversations with in the past. So I'd either want to sit at table 8 with Lyle, TJ, and Colby. Colby will just pretend that my name's Justin and it'll be fine. And I'll be okay with it. I'll be Jordy or something that day, whatever works. Or table 9 because I can sit there and talk to Ty, right? Like, I think both of those are. I mean, out of those, like those are probably my top 2. Maybe table 2 as well because like I've talked to Jake, I've talked to Jage, but everyone else like I haven't really had a lot of interactions with. Alex Mayer's liked one of my tweets. I think he's responded to one of my tweets, but it's from the Mojo account, so it's like it's not actually mine. You know what I mean? But I don't think table 7 would want 2 dopes sitting with them anyway. So like, I don't really think that's really something that we need to worry about. 6 could be interesting with Divish, but I don't know the bottom 2 on that one with like Trident deck being there as well. So I don't know. I think it's an easy cop out answer for me to say 8 or 9. Like 8, 9, 2 is probably my order, just based on people that I actually know at those tables.
In shocking news, we know the same people. So yeah, I'd probably go 8, 9, 2. I'd go 8, 2, 9.
Okay.
Just because I know Jake, Jage, and Ben. Like I'd be fine talking. But like I haven't really talked to Savage DePoto at all. Sure. I've talked to Angie when I worked at T-Mobile Park.
Yeah.
So that was fun, I guess. No way she knows who I am. I can tell you for a fact, I'm not setting foot near table 7.
Not even to say hi to Alex?
I'd say hi to Alex, maybe to Patty. Yep.
The original, like, I think on the post, Nell Dog responded, he goes, "I'm the goat of table 7." And it's just like, hey, man, do you? Be confident in who you are, bro. Like, run it up at table 7, be the goat. It's just, it's such a funny meme because there's so many, like, and it's fine that like there's different opinions. There's different opinions, views of people like at the tables, like who you'd want to talk to. Like if we were there, people like, oh, I don't want to sit at that table because like why would I want to talk to those guys? Like of course, like that's just connections that we've made like online with people and like or even in person. Like it's just it's a funny meme, and I'm glad that Zach shared it because like looking at it, I don't think that there's like. For us specifically, I think there's an obvious answer, but like I don't think that's the consistency for everybody, right?
Agreed.
Like there's something out there for everyone with these 9 tables. Could have been 10. Could have been 10 in that little corner, but
empty table there, Zach. I don't know. Just a second. I'll just subscribe to Mariner's channel on YouTube.
Why are you flexing right now?
If we were to make a table, Joe, like if we had to make a perfect table, Okay.
God.
This is going to be rough.
We have to take 2 spots. Or no, because Marine Layer's 1 spot.
So Mariner Mojo's a spot.
A spot.
Now I think it's interesting though because Colby and Ty are 2 spots.
And Locked On is not on there. It's just Colby or Ty.
It's
Interesting.
Colby and Ty.
Interesting.
So it's not their personal Twitters, not their like account for Locked On. So I don't necessarily know how that works.
Yeah.
But you and I don't post a whole lot from our personal Twitters.
Yeah.
So I would assume we post more on Mariner Mojo, so therefore Mariner Mojo would be the one that would be on here.
Mm-hmm. I know one person that's going to be upset if we don't invite him to the table, and it's Darren McCacken Enjoyer. Let's be honest. If there's one person that's got to be at our perfect table, DJ Manny D, who did not get invited, probably should get invited to the non-invited table. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fair.
That's true. Yeah, if we're making a non-invited table. So it's us as 1 spot, Manny at another spot. Who else do we want to add to this table?
Like Cam?
Cam would be a good one to add. Yeah, Cam's a good one to add.
On private though, so I don't know where that's
true.
at.
I don't know if we can add Cam,
maybe Cam's in like lunch detention or something. It's tough. It's tough to say.
No, like I feel like Dustin Halama. I want to add Dustin. I love Dustin.
We're just being the most unbelievably biased that we could ever be.
Accent can be at my table until he pisses me off, and then he has to go somewhere else.
Accent's been AFK, bro.
Let him
Accent's
actually
AFK.
Like living life nowadays, or
whatever he's got going on.
What a jerk. Dorian can be at our table.
We're just making the Mariner like the Mojovian community table.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, they're all non-invited. I mean, if we're going off of Twitter personalities, yeah, then I guess it's a good point. Darren McCacken Enjoyer is the best one.
Sure. I mean, he literally won. He won the Rays of Trident Awards for that.
True, that's a good point.
I think him, Cam, and like Logan Lemons, like Logan Gilbert fan, might be a fair one to throw in there. Close with Jake, so we could just like throw stuff at Jake from our table at him. Maybe.
True. I'm in.
It's a possibility.
But then I'd hit Ben and I'd feel bad.
Jake's a pretty big target.
Yeah, but Jake's on the other side of Ben. Wow.
Ben's a pretty small target.
That's true, but wow.
Listen, hey, as a fellow big man, okay, Jake can hit both of us easily as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Thank you.
Let us know in the comments, guys, where you would sit. Which of these tables you would sit at. Because I think that maybe you'd want to sit at our table. Let us know in the comments down below.
At table 0 or table 10.
0.
Whichever, depending on if the graphic gets cut off there.
Right, yeah. But we appreciate you guys watching episode 161 of whatever this was. And go, Mariners.